Hello, hello. Welcome back to episode 14 of Dinero Twins, where we talk about all things business and money. Hey, twin.
Hey, twin. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about something so interesting, and I'm sure that everyone can relate to these scenarios. So, we're going to talk about time management, right? One of the things that we are all like, can we have more hours in the day? Can we have more days in the week? It's just for us busy people, right? There's so much that goes into planning your time correctly to get it all done. So, we wanted to take a moment to talk about those things today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to be, sharing some do's, sharing some don'ts of time management because as Twin said it, right, it's so easily to get caught up in your day-to-day life, especially for some of you that, you may be working a full-time job and you have a business on the side, or, you just started a new endeavor. So you probably have to, transition a little bit and know exactly what to expect and what to look forward to when it comes to time management, okay? So why don't we go ahead and get started, twin?
Yes, let's get this rolling. All right, so the first one is you do need to plan ahead. So I know planning ahead sounds like such a, tedious task, and sometimes it is, but if you have no plan of what your days are going to look like between now and the end of the week, I mean, this is when you run into trouble, right? This is when you're like trying to get the things done and you just don't know where to start. And you get flustered and you're like, you know what? You get frustrated and you just don't do it. Don't do it, put it to the side. So planning ahead is so important. You have to take the time to plan, at least those very important items that you want to get accomplished that day. So the way that I do it, I try to, the night before, I literally go into my calendar on my phone and I'm like, okay, what do I need to get done tomorrow? So my list, my planning ahead is like, okay, the top 3 things that have to get done, those go first. I want to knock those out of the way bright and early. And then all of the other things are things that I need to get done. But if I don't do them, it's not the end of the world. I can move them to the next day kind of thing.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that has helped me is that I schedule everything. I always say if it's not in my calendar, it doesn't exist, right? I schedule everything down, even from lunch, right? Because to me, it's so easy to, and I know a lot of you are like, well, maybe I don't need to plan lunch or schedule lunch, right? But to me, it's like, it's so easily for you to, get so distracted with your day-to-day things that even something as simple as taking a snack or taking a break, or you get an unexpected phone call, because things happen unexpectedly all the time. So those things that happen unexpectedly can throw you off of your schedule, right? So having things written down in an agenda, in a calendar, would help you keep back on track to, your day-to-day or your, exactly your daily schedule.
That's
You don't
right.
want to
Yeah.
run around with a chicken with no head, right? Because I know that happens to many of us. We want to make sure that we're properly prepared for anything, that our day may throw at us.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very important. So that leads me to don't procrastinate, right? Don't procrastinate.
Another big one.
Tell us, twin. Is this something
So
you struggle with?
it definitely is. I feel like, just like many people, I leave things for last minute, right? And especially things like the admin work, the paperwork. See, my career field, there's a lot of paperwork and admin, and those are things that I usually kind of delegate. Like, I don't want to do this. I'm gonna, pass it on to my assistant. But it's so natural of us to do things all, like, leave it all to the last minute, especially the things that we don't want to do, right? The things that may stress us out, the things that, doesn't make us feel good, and just like the boring stuff, as I like to call it, right? But they're necessary, right? They're necessary. Every single business has their, these things that you don't necessarily want to do or hear about, but that it is so important to your business. So I always feel good when I do things, even I know I could have done it all the way to like the last minute. I feel good when I do it, right? Because now I know that's one less thing I have to worry about. Now I cleared up my time and I can focus my time. I'm doing things more productive.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel the same way. So I know I have a problem with procrastinating sometimes, especially those things that I'm like, I don't want to do it. That's what I think it begins, right? Is when because the things that you want to do, you just do them. It's not a big deal.
Exactly.
But there are things that I'm like, oh, do I really need to work at the spreadsheet? Oh, this is gonna just kill my mood. Like, I just don't want to do it. But then I keep pushing it off. till, and I literally like give myself anxiety with like, oh, now I got 20 minutes to get it done. When I've had the whole day to do it. I should have known
Exactly.
better. So
Okay.
I set myself up and I do it less now because I understand that I don't want to feel that way
Mhm.
pressured until that last minute, but I still do it. I still struggle with it, honestly.
Yeah, and we all do, right? And one of the things that I always tell myself, like, especially if you're not in a position in your business, where you can hire an assistant to kind of take care of those right, those last minute things for you, then I would suggest that you just get it out the way, right? Or like like we mentioned earlier, plan it ahead of time, plan it in your schedule, make it part of your weekly activities, so therefore you don't feel like dragging your feet
Hmm.
to get it done.
Exactly. Yes, yes. So what is the do? What is another
let's
do you want to
let's talk
mention?
about setting goals, right? So one thing that we all have to do regardless of where you find yourself in your life is set goals, because setting goals keeps us inspired, it keeps us motivated, and it also keeps us going for what's next, right? So setting goals can be something as creating a vision board. You can just set goals to reflect 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and then breaking those things into a daily habit. So I would suggest for those of you that are pretty new to the setting goals or getting accustomed to that, visualize yourself where you want to be 12 months from now. Okay. And that can be in different areas in your life. That can be in health, that can be wealth, that can be spiritually, that can be, in
Mhm.
relationships or marriage or whatever the case is. Visualize yourself where you want to be. And then what you want to do is that you're going to write down tasks. I would say 5 to 7 tasks that you need to do every single day to make sure that next year around this time you're in a different place, that you accomplish those goals, right? So I would say set there. And this can be, like I said, it doesn't only have to be in business. It can reflect to this can apply to multiple areas in your life. And I'm telling you, if you get accustomed to this exercise, you're gonna start to looking forward to visualizing, to seeing what's next, what's the next big goal, because you're gonna see that it's accomplishable.
Yes, and you're gonna probably take your agenda and your to-do list more serious because now
More
you're like,
serious.
if I don't get these things done every day as I plan, then I'm not gonna be able to get to my goals. So it's all tied together, right? You have to like, if you do one, it'll help you keep the others in check.
Exactly, exactly. Like for example, a really big one that we've actually talked about this in one of our last episodes. If you haven't watched it, go back to it, right? Setting New Year goals. Um, One of the things that a lot of people have for the new year or overall is their health, right? People care so much about their health, but they don't really take the time out to
Hmm.
actually do the exercise, right? Do the nutrition, do the heavy lifting, because you get so caught up with every single day life. So what that happens is that once you get it out the way, right? Once, even if you just go for a 5 minute walk, 10 minute walk, do yoga, some type of movement with your body, you will start to
Yeah.
feel that you feel better. And when you feel better, you do better, right?
Yeah.
So, and this now transfer to other areas in your life, your relationship, your money habits, right? So you need to understand that once your agenda is so powerful, like Twin said, it's so powerful, but it's even more powerful when you execute, when you actually do the
Yes.
work.
Yeah. And it's habit forming too. You know, it's like you do it, you did it, it felt good. Now you're like, I'm gonna do it again because it's
Exactly.
working. And then you form that habit after you do it enough times that you're like, okay, I can't slack now. Like now I have to commit to it.
Right, right. I mean, that's so powerful, which also leads to the next point, which is don't isolate yourself, right? We sometimes, and what exactly does that mean? That means that sometimes when we pick up these good habits, like Twin was mentioning, you get into the habit of working out every single day, even if it's just for 15 minutes, you're picking up a good habit, right?
Hmm.
So now that you picked up a good habit, why not reward yourself? Why not
Right.
take some time off of your busy schedule? And this is something that I do. I block up my calendar on Sundays. I don't book appointments on Sundays. Very rare. I
Hmm.
may make some exceptions, but I don't book anything on Sundays. Sundays are me time, right? I spend time with
Okay.
my family, with my boyfriend, right? I just do things to refresh, right? To replenish,
Hmm.
because I've experienced burnout, right? And I'm pretty sure you have too, Twin,
Yeah.
right? When you
Yeah.
burn yourself out because you're working so much that you don't give yourself time to replenish, right?
That's right.
To motivate yourself, to inspire yourself to keep working. So do not isolate yourself, reward yourself, because if you're not good, no one else is.
That's right. Yeah, and then burnout is very real, it's just part of life when you're trying to get a lot of things done. So, I struggle with this one too. Like even Sundays I have to really be like, okay, I need to disconnect. Like I did that yesterday, force myself to do that. But it just takes an effort, right? Because I don't want to end up like a lot of, people that make it, right? They acquire all this, the assets and the money and the business, but then they're not healthy and they're not happy because they're just not even maintaining their mental health and their physical health. So it's got to be a balance. You got to be able to disconnect for sure.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned something so important, Twin, is that yes, we all want to achieve these great things in life, but you also want to be able to share with people. So when you isolate yourself because you're working so much and you
Mhm.
don't really get to spend time with family and friends, those people are gonna seem strangers to you, right? So it's
Right.
like you can have all these really great things in life, but no one to share it with. You're gonna find yourself lonely, right? Who wants to be
That
a
sucks.
lonely millionaire, lonely
Right?
billionaire, right?
I mean,
So
that's bad. That's horrible. But yeah, that's
absolutely,
where the balance has to come in for sure, for
yes,
sure, for
you
sure.
need a balance. And like I do, set it out in your schedule, make some time for yourself. I schedule my spa, I schedule my, nail day or hair day. Like I schedule me time. I put it in my calendar just like if it's in any other appointment because to me it's important.
That's right. Absolutely, absolutely. And that goes back to the daily activities, right? The daily habits, habit forming. Take a break, right? So during your day when you're like, I got these things accomplished, don't feel like you always have to fill in every minute of your day with something. Take breaks, whether that's, driving to the restaurant, driving to get a coffee, get out of the house if you work from home. If you work in an office, get out of the office, go get some fresh air. A walk around the block, does wonders. Just take a break for sure.
Yeah, taking breaks in between is important, even if it's just like a 5 or 10 minute break. Before appointments, and also because you want to give yourself time for the unexpected to happen, right?
Yeah.
Appointments going overtime, certain things might happen in between that need your immediate attention. So I would suggest that if you don't want to go crazy with like I want to say like booking or appointment mode, I would say, take those 10-minute breaks, some time to like relax, listen to music, do things that are gonna, uplift your spirit to be able to
Yes.
take on the rest of the day.
Yeah. Don't use those 10 minutes to go on Facebook and look at drama though. That's
It's
gonna set you back. Just a side
gonna
note.
take you off track,
It's
right?
gonna put you off track. It's gonna mess up your mood. It's gonna really mess you up. So just use those 10 minutes accordingly to
Yeah,
what it is you're trying
use
to
them wisely. Use them
use.
wisely, especially I don't know about you, Twin, but during like the midday, like around 2, like 1 or 2, I start to feel like a little sluggish,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, oh, I'm getting a little tired. So I get up, I walk around, I do things that are gonna, I put my
Yes.
little essential oils in my office. I do things that are gonna uplift
Yeah.
my spirit and my moods because it's usually around that midday where your body's just like I'm ready for a
Right.
nap.
Exactly. Yeah. I usually put up my playlist on. I'll be like, okay, time for music. And I
Yeah,
just
time
play
for
some
music.
music. That does it for me. That works.
Yeah.
So don't overbook. This one
Oh,
is like, we are notorious for this, from what I hear.
I used to experience a lot of this. I used to be very bad with overbooking, and that was because I wasn't in the habit of using my calendar to the ability that I use it now. So
Mhm.
because of that, I would forget appointments that I would set with people until like the day before, and then I would be, oh, I accidentally booked another appointment during that time, and it was just be, I would have to be rescheduling, and
Mhm.
it doesn't look professional. So I decided to, this is why I use my calendar, my agenda, because it keeps me aligned and I make sure that
Yeah.
I don't do conflicting appointments.
Yeah. With me, it's more of sometimes I'm like, I can do all of those 12 items today. Of course I can. And I'll just literally line everything up. And I'd leave no room for like lunch or the
Oh, that's
unexpected
another one.
or the phone call. And then it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm starving because I didn't even have lunch yet. So I had to stop really doing that. It was bad. But it was myself. Sometimes you get in your own way and you have these
Mm-hmm.
bad habits. But overbooking was definitely a bad habit of mine. So I'm learning to just pick the top three important things of the day, and then I'll add another three. And if those three don't get done at the end of the day, then I'm okay with it. But I just have to stick to using my time slots wisely. And then also the fear of saying no, right? So like if someone calls you and they're like, hey, let's have a call about this tomorrow. Okay, sure. And then you
Mm-hmm.
just start overbooking yourself at that time because you want to say yes to everyone. So
Yeah.
it's difficult. I had to learn how to say no and just push people off to a day where I am slower or I don't have a lot going on.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it is knowing how to be realistic with ourselves, because it's like, especially when, this happens, this has happened to me, especially when I first started my business. Like, you wanted to like be a people pleaser. You wanted to say yes
Yeah,
to everybody because you wanted to build those relationships. But at the same time, you didn't know how to set boundaries. Like, at the end of the day, you cannot be this superwoman as you would want to be. Like,
yeah,
you need to be realistic and know that there's just certain things that I can't fit all into one day, especially if you have a business and you have your own priorities and things
mhm.
that you have going on. So do be realistic, do set your priorities, do set your boundaries, because all these things will help you in the long run.
Yes. Remember, the key is to stick to your agenda, stick to your plan.
Mhm.
That's going to help your time management skills. It's okay to say no. I mean, that's a really tough one. I think a lot of people struggle with that because, like you said, you want to be a team player. You don't want to come off as being, like big, big, big niche and like, oh, I don't have time for that. But sometimes you don't have time for that. You got to say
Yeah.
no.
But I also think, Twin, that that comes also from our culture. Like, in the Latino community, like, if your parent calls you, if somebody in your family calls you, like, you have to be available,
Right.
and I feel like because that happens to us, like, in our family, we kind of take those behaviors onto business or to work, and then we think that we have to be available for everybody because, that's just how we were raised. But in reality, those are things that we have
That's
to like
right. Yeah.
kind of grow out of, because they're
Hmm.
not really doing us much good
Not at
in
all.
the work world.
Yeah, this people pleasing thing is very real for sure.
Yes,
And it
very
definitely, I think it's a cultural thing. You hit that on the head. Because I could see other cultures being like, it's me first. I gotta get my stuff done.
exactly.
I'll
No,
call
we're very
you.
people pleasing. Like, we want to take care of everybody before we take care of ourselves, but we got to be realistic.
Yes,
Um, which leads
absolutely.
to our next point, which is stay focused, right? Stay focused on the things that really matters. We were just talking about how sometimes we want to be a team player and we want to be able to help other people, but you have to understand that you have to. One of the things that helps me is, like, if I give myself 5 or 10 tasks to do, I need to sit down and say, there's a probability that I'm not going to do all 10 tasks. So I need to pick out the 5 that are my top priority. Like,
Yeah,
regardless of what happens during the day, I at least have to make sure that I get these things done, right? So stay focused on the things that really, really, really need to get done, which goes back to prioritizing. So put things that are top priority,
yeah.
you know, not things that are, need to get done, but they're not high priority, right? And this will help you get organized and know which tasks during the day you need to get done first.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's also gonna help you be overproductive, right? You'll find that once you start doing that, your time is gonna be a lot more used. It's gonna be used wisely, right? It's training too. I feel like you
Yeah.
have to train yourself to be um high productivity, to put out high productivity, like to be able to do multiple things in a short amount of time. It's
Yeah.
a skill. Like you really have to train yourself to be like, and that skill only comes from managing your time correctly.
Yes. It comes from managing your time. It comes from building your discipline, and most importantly, from building your focus. Because I feel like in today's day and age, like, I can be doing something for 5 minutes and then my phone rings and I'm over here like on my phone, and then little do I know I last like 30 minutes on my phone,
Right.
right? When I only went to go check out a text. Now you go
Yes.
on Instagram, right? Now
Oh,
you check your emails, like, you just forget about it. So staying focused and like constantly reminding yourself, like, you have to get this done, you have to get this done, it's something very important for you to
yes.
build early on.
Early on, yes. And it's a very real struggle for a lot of us that do a lot, right? So the same thing with me. I'll go down the rabbit hole, the TikTok rabbit hole. I don't even want to go in there anymore because I'd be like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, let me look at this.
It doesn't only happen to kids, it happens to adults too.
You're right. Our attention span is shrinking.
It's so small right now. Which, by the way, we also want to mention, and we're more than likely going to close it with this. Don't forget to cut out unnecessary tasks. And this actually goes back to some of the things that we mentioned earlier, but we just want to reinforce it. You know, there's some things that in our schedule that we forget to book. We think that our schedule is only to book like business related things or work related things, right? But in reality, taking the time out to say, you know what, on a Saturday at this time, I promised my kids that we were going to go to the movies. Block that out in your calendar, right?
Right.
Exercise. I told myself that I was going to exercise or go for a walk for 15 minutes every single day. Put that in your schedule, right? You want to take some time out to read, an hour to read a day. You want to take some time to listen to podcasts. All of these things should be set in your schedule. Things like eating, right? Lunch breaks. You can even do business lunch, right? Where you take someone out on, they do like virtual lunches now, right? So
Yeah. So, you eat as you're talking on Zoom.
You eat as you talk on the Zoom, right? All of these things you want to take out. I always say that, you know, in when I first started in business, I used to kind of make my life fit into my business, right? And I noticed that with that, I didn't have a healthy balance. Right. So what I do now is that if I promise, you know, if I was going to spend some time with my family, with my boyfriend, I block those things out first, and then I make everything else fit. Right. So I can always make sure that I have a healthy work-life balance and not just like a work monster all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's super important, because then you start feeling bad and you start, you know, resenting yourself for being such a working machine, for sure. I've done that too. Yeah. Very important. So yeah, this is a really good convo.
Really great conversation. I definitely, you know, we hope that you guys took a lot of value from it. Don't forget to subscribe to our next episodes, because we have so many great content this year rolling out for you guys. And make sure to share this video with someone, because it could be a value for you, but it can also be a value for someone else that you know that is probably struggling with time management, right? They can have some things to improve on. So please share it with someone else as well.
Yes, and don't forget to subscribe.
Subscribe.
All right, twin. On to the next one.
On to the next one. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Ciao.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you found great value in the content shared. Make sure to tune in again every Wednesday, and to also share our podcast link with anyone who can benefit from the information. Till next time, adios.